The world does not reward fairness. You can live with integrity and still be betrayed. You can sharpen your skills endlessly and still watch someone less capable step into the position you earned. That is not pessimism. That is how reality functions. The people who acknowledge this truth don't collapse under it. They adapt. And the ones who adapt don't just survive. They dominate. There exists a form of power that can't be touched or photographed. Yet everyone reacts to it instinctively. You feel it before you can explain it. This is dark intelligence. Dark intelligence doesn't come from comfort or privilege. It is forged through betrayal, humiliation, and repeated loss. Where most people shatter under pressure, you convert suffering into awareness. It is an intelligence that observes instead of reacts. It listens instead of argues. It stays silent until timing becomes lethal. While others vent their emotions, you collect patterns. While they explode, you calculate. While they drown in feelings, you architect outcomes. Most people move through life playing checkers. You're about to understand chess. Before we go further, understand this clearly. This knowledge is not a weapon for destruction. It is armor for survival. It is meant to shield you, not turn you into a predator. The objective is awareness, not villainy. Today, you learn 8 psychological characteristics that divide survivors from casualties, commanders from followers, those who shape outcomes from those who suffer them. Before we begin, drop the statement in the comments. I choose strategic intelligence over emotional impulse. Now, let's expose what those in power never openly teach. Trait 1. Strategic obscurity. You are never fully transparent. You reveal only what serves the moment. When people receive incomplete information, their minds rush to fill the gaps, and those imagined conclusions begin to control their behavior. Machiavelli observed that the masses judge by appearance, not essence. Most only see the surface. Very few ever touch the truth. Think about the most compelling individuals you know. They never overshare. They leave unanswered spaces. They respond indirectly. They smile instead of explaining. This is not deception. This is intentional communication. Most people feel obligated to explain themselves. They justify decisions. They expose insecurities. They disclose plans prematurely. They call it honesty. In reality, they are surrendering leverage. Influential people understand that uncertainty generates attention. Attention turns into curiosity. Curiosity creates interest. Interest evolves into respect. And respect opens the door to influence. If someone asks what you're doing this weekend, the average response is predictable and forgettable. A vague commitment shifts perception entirely. Predictability weakens presence. Selectivity strengthens it. You are not required to hide everything. You are required to control timing. Those who master this understand one rule. Information is currency. Spend it carelessly and you go bankrupt. When you speak less, your words weigh more. Scarcity gives language power. This isn't about mystery for drama. It's about ownership of your narrative. Trait 2. Fluid identity. You are not identical with everyone. Different environments activate different aspects of you. People believe they know you, but they only know the version you allowed them to see. Machiavelli advised rulers to present qualities strategically, not emotionally. This is not falseness. This is functionality. You already do this unconsciously. You don't speak to elders the same way you speak to peers. You don't behave at work the same way you behave socially. Adaptive identity turns this instinct into a skill. Every individual filters reality differently. Some process logic. Some respond to emotion. Some value practicality. Some live in vision. Using the same communication style, with everyone guarantees disconnection. Those with dark intelligence study before they speak. They adjust delivery, not values. Think of water. It conforms to any container without losing its essence. That is your model. Authenticity does not require sameness. It requires alignment. Master this, and people feel understood around you. Understanding breeds trust. Trust accelerates influence. Never adapt so far that your core dissolves. Your principles are non-negotiable. Only expression is flexible. Here is a significantly expanded version of trait 3 that keeps the same dark, controlled, authoritative tone, deepens the psychology, and adds weight and length without drifting or repeating ideas. Trait 3. Emotional independence. You are not owned by outcomes. You are not owned by approval. You are not owned by attachment. The moment you need something, it gains power over you. The moment you fear losing something, it gains leverage. Anything you're afraid to lose can be used to control you. Your job, your reputation, your relationship, your image, your comfort. Detachment is not emotional numbness. It is not isolation. It is not pretending you don't care. Detachment is sovereignty. It is the ability to care deeply without being held hostage by fear. It is choosing freely instead of reacting desperately. Most people tolerate disrespect, not because they deserve it, but because they're afraid. Afraid of losing income, afraid of losing connection, afraid of being alone, afraid of being rejected, afraid of being replaced. Fear makes obedience effortless. People accept bad deals, toxic relationships, and degrading treatment, not because they agree, but because walking away feels more dangerous than staying. The one who can leave always holds power. Consider two negotiators sitting across the table. One needs the deal. Their future depends on it. They've already planned their life around it working. The other wants the deal, but doesn't require it. They have alternatives, options, time. Only one of them controls the room. Detachment creates leverage because it removes desperation. And desperation is visible, even when unspoken. When you are emotionally untethered, clarity sharpens. You see situations as they are, not as you wish them to be. You hear what's said and what isn't. You notice pressure tactics immediately. Emotional entanglement distorts perception. It makes bad decisions feel necessary. It makes red flags look negotiable. Detachment clears the fog. Confidence is not believing you'll always win. That's arrogance. Real confidence is knowing you'll survive loss, knowing failure won't destroy you, knowing rejection won't define you, knowing discomfort won't break you. When threats no longer scare you, manipulation stops working. When walking away is an option, control shifts instantly. This doesn't happen overnight. You build it deliberately. Begin small. Stop needing to win every argument. Stop needing to correct everyone. Stop needing to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. Release the hunger for universal approval. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone's opinion matters. Loosen rigid attachment to plans. Plans are tools, not identities. If a plan fails, adapt. Don't collapse. As emotional independence grows, something interesting happens. People sense it. They feel that you are not easily shaken, not easily pressured, not easily owned. And instinctively, respect follows. Detachment is not indifference. You still care. You still commit. You still invest effort and emotion. But you do so by choice, not compulsion. It is disciplined care. Intentional attachment. Power with restraint. This is emotional independence. Not cold, not distant, unshakable. Trait 4. Invisible pressure. You do not push outcomes into existence. You arrange conditions so outcomes move on their own. Force is obvious. Power is subtle. True influence does not announce itself. It is felt before it is understood. Instead of commanding obedience, you position yourself strategically. Instead of demanding compliance, you become necessary. When people depend on you, pressure exists without being applied. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools of power. Those who rely on volume and urgency collapse when sound disappears. Pause before responding. Let the space stretch. Let discomfort rise. Most people are allergic to silence. They rush to fill it. And in doing so, they reveal priorities, insecurities, and intentions they never planned to expose. When you speak after silence, your words land heavier. They feel considered, deliberate, final. In negotiation, leverage is rarely spoken. The strongest advantage is the option you don't mention. You never threaten to walk away. You never explain your limits. You simply know you can leave. And that certainty alters the entire dynamic. Desperation weakens presence. Optionality strengthens it. In relationships, force destroys loyalty. Value creates it. You don't control people by restricting them. You influence them by improving their lives. Consistency outperforms intensity. Reliability outlasts charisma. Those who try to control must constantly apply pressure. Those who provide value apply none. People stay willingly. Invisible pressure compounds over time. It builds quietly, unnoticed, until one day it becomes undeniable. Influence grows slowly, then all at once. This requires patience, not passive waiting, but deliberate restraint. You plant seeds without demanding immediate harvest. You invest without announcing expectation. You allow time to do what force cannot. Those who master this become gravitational. They don't chase attention. Attention moves toward them. People seek their approval without being asked. They follow direction without receiving orders. They adjust behavior without confrontation. But this tool carries responsibility. Invisible pressure must never become manipulation. It must never strip others of agency or dignity. Its highest use is guidance, not exploitation. Alignment, not control. When used ethically, invisible pressure creates stability, trust, and long-term influence. This is quiet power, unseen, unannounced, unavoidable. Trait 5. Reflective insight. You don't just hear what people say, you perceive what they struggle to express. Most individuals lack the language for their own inner world. They speak in fragments, complaints, jokes, and surface-level statements. But beneath those words live unmet needs, buried fears, and silent desires. People do not crave answers. Answers are easy to find. What they crave is recognition. They want to feel noticed without having to beg for attention, understood without having to over-explain, valued without having to perform. Every interaction carries an invisible subtext. A question behind the question, an emotion behind the opinion, a need behind the behavior. If you listen only to words, you miss the signal. If you listen beneath them, you gain access. Reflective insight begins with restraint. You don't interrupt. You don't rush to fix. You don't hijack the moment with your own story. You observe tone, pacing, body language, what is emphasized, and what is avoided. Then you reflect not what was said, but what was meant. Not the complaint, the frustration beneath it. Not the anger, the fear behind it. Not the confidence, the insecurity it's protecting. When someone feels accurately reflected, resistance fades, defensiveness dissolves, walls lower without force. Because being seen is disarming, this is why people open up to those who understand reflective insight. Not because they are persuasive, but because they are precise. Once needs are identified, communication sharpens. You stop talking at people and start speaking to them. You don't change your message. You change the lens through which it's received. Security-driven minds hear stability. Status-driven minds hear recognition. Freedom-driven minds hear autonomy. Purpose-driven minds hear meaning. The idea stays the same. The framing adapts. This is not manipulation. Manipulation hides intent. Reflective insight clarifies it. Used ethically, this ability creates trust that doesn't need enforcement, loyalty that doesn't require pressure, influence that doesn't rely on dominance. People feel safe with those who understand them, and people follow those who make them feel seen. That is the quiet power of reflective insight. Trait 6. Pragmatic ethics. Reality does not function in clean lines or simple categories. The world is not divided neatly into right and wrong, good and evil, light and dark. That framework comforts people, but it fails them when stakes are real. Sometimes kindness sustains damage. It enables bad behavior to continue unchecked. It protects dysfunction instead of people. Sometimes firmness prevents collapse. It stops harm before it spreads. It draws boundaries that preserve what matters. This is not moral emptiness. This is contextual judgment. Pragmatic ethics means understanding that intentions are meaningless without outcomes. What matters is not how righteous a decision looks, but what it produces. Outcomes matter. Protecting the many may require disappointing the few. Stability may require unpopular decisions. Truth may require discomfort. Leaders who cannot tolerate moral tension outsource responsibility. They hide behind niceness. They avoid decisions, and the damage compounds quietly. Pragmatic ethics accepts responsibility. It asks harder questions. Who is affected long term? What behavior is being reinforced? What happens if I don't act? This approach demands boundaries, not flexible values. Clear ones. You must know your red lines before pressure arrives. What you will not tolerate. What you will not compromise. What you will never justify. Within those boundaries, you act decisively. Hesitation in ethical gray zones often causes more harm than action. Indecision breeds instability. Ambiguity invites exploitation. But be warned, effectiveness without conscience becomes corruption. Power detached from ethics eventually turns predatory. At the same time, conscience without effectiveness becomes weakness. Good intentions that produce bad outcomes are not virtuous, they are negligent. The balance is difficult. That's why few master it. Pragmatic ethics is the discipline of choosing actions that serve the greater good, even when they cost you comfort, popularity, or approval. Not because you enjoy severity, but because you understand consequences. This is moral maturity, not purity, not posturing. Responsibility. Trait 7. Intentional visibility. In an age of constant exposure, silence becomes power. Oversharing dilutes influence. The more people know, the less weight your presence carries. What is unknown gains gravity. Human attention is drawn to gaps, to unfinished stories, to withheld information. Intentional visibility is not about hiding. It's about control. You reveal yourself in layers, not floods. You allow access gradually, not impulsively. Timing matters more than disclosure itself. Information, once released, cannot be retrieved. It cannot be reframed. It cannot be taken back. That makes restraint a strategic advantage. This applies everywhere. In conversation, in negotiation, in leadership, and especially online. Your digital presence is not casual. It is permanent positioning. Every post sends a signal. Every comment shapes perception. Every image contributes to a narrative. Those who broadcast everything surrender narrative control. Those who curate intentionally define how they are seen. Mystery creates attention. Attention creates leverage. Leverage creates opportunity. This does not mean deception. It does not mean secrecy for its own sake. It means precision. You decide what people know, and just as importantly, when they know it. You share information when it strengthens alignment. You withhold when it would weaken positioning. You reveal when relevance peaks. The goal is not to be unreadable. The goal is to be deliberate. People respect what feels considered. They value what isn't immediately accessible. Intentional visibility protects you from being misjudged, overexposed, or underestimated. It keeps you adaptable. Unboxed. Unpredictable. This is not distance. It is discipline. In a world addicted to exposure, the person who controls visibility controls perception, and perception shapes outcomes. Trait 8. Result fixation. You are not here to prove a point. You are not here to win debates, impress rooms, or satisfy your ego. You are here to make things happen. Being right is cheap. Results are rare. Most people confuse intelligence with argumentation. They believe if they can explain themselves clearly, defend their logic, or dominate a discussion, they've achieved something meaningful. They haven't. They've only burned energy. Arguments are not trophies to display. They are instruments to use or discard, depending on the outcome they serve. A strategically intelligent person asks one question before every move, every word, every reaction. What result am I trying to create here? Not what feels good. Not what makes me look smart. Not what earns applause in the moment. What actually changes reality. Effort without impact is just motion. Noise. Distraction disguised as productivity. You can be busy every hour of the day and still be losing. You can work harder than everyone around you and remain stuck. Because motion without direction does not equal progress. Activity is not advancement. Pressure without leverage is wasted force. Outcome-driven individuals think differently. They don't ask, how much work did I do? They ask, what shifted because I acted? They seek leverage, points where minimal input creates maximum change. They focus on decisions, positioning, and timing rather than exhaustion. They would rather move one lever that shifts everything than push 10 doors that won't open. They are not loyal to methods. They are loyal to objectives. If a strategy stops working, they abandon it without emotional attachment. No pride, no stubbornness, no sunk cost illusion. Their identity is not tied to how they win, only that they do. This is why outcome-focused people often appear calm while others panic. They are not emotionally married to plans. They are committed to destinations. Ego is the enemy here. Ego wants validation. Ego wants recognition. Ego wants to be seen as correct. Result fixation silences ego. When ego steps aside, clarity takes over. You stop reacting. You stop proving. You start selecting the most efficient path forward. But understand this clearly. Results without integrity are not victories. Any outcome achieved by destroying your values is temporary. Any success built on unethical ground collapses under pressure. True result fixation includes ethics in the definition of success. If the outcome costs your character, you failed. Even if you won, strategic intelligence is knowing when to push, when to pause, and when to walk away. It's choosing effectiveness over emotional satisfaction. It's sacrificing the pleasure of being right for the power of being effective. The people who change environments, organizations, and lives are not the loudest or the most opinionated. They are the ones who quietly deliver results, again and again. And over time, the world stops questioning them. Because outcomes speak louder than explanations ever could. This is result fixation. Cold, focused, ethical, relentless. Not driven by ego. Not distracted by noise. Not satisfied with effort. Only satisfied when reality moves. You now understand the 8 pillars of dark intelligence. Choose one, practice it for 7 days, Observe shifts. Use this knowledge responsibly, not to dominate, but to remain ungovernable, not to control, but to stay free. The most dangerous person has nothing to lose. The most valuable person understands psychology and acts ethically. Decide who you will become. If this changed your perception, engage. If you want deeper strategy, subscribe. And remember, true intelligence is not sharpness alone. It is restraint, timing, and purpose. Stay aware, stay ethical, stay powerful.